what's scary about all these haunted objects and just haunted places in general is like Sam and I had like one of the toughest years of our entire lives, like this past in 2023. And like you can't just like say all the negative things that happened to us is because of the haunted stuff. But then a part of you, like, there's like a little fraction that like thinks like, what if it is?
Now, are we talking about maybe the cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, because so this is what's crazy is, so I know it's not Robert the doll. We went to a place in Florida where if you take pictures of this doll, it literally says it gives you cancer. And we did that. And then I got cancer that month or the next month.
Yeah.
But
what are the chances
That's what I'm saying.
of that?
That's what I'm
I have to
saying.
say, like, I am very superstitious on certain things, and like, if I have a negative thought, I gotta, knock on wood just in case. I like to, release that out there.
Yeah.
What are the chances that did you take a picture with it too, or
Yeah.
you both okay?
Yeah. Again, it's not it, but like also, what are the odds? You know, it's like
the reason I know it's not
Yeah.
Robert, I hope, is like I felt a little bit of pain like before going to that trip.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean like any other haunted place. Like there's so many stories of, diseases being caused by like paranormal and stuff like that. And like I don't believe it, but it just makes you
See, that would be my biggest fear is like investigating something like this, picking up something negative, and all of a sudden it destroying my life. But you can't point to that. You can't say, well,
Right.
definitively it was that.
Exactly.
But my life fell apart. All of a sudden I found these vices, and my, everything kind of went down.
Yeah.
You can't pin it on that.
Exactly.
But it's like, again, what are the chances?
Right. It's everything in paranormal is like coincidence, or like people stock it up to like coincidence and stuff. So
that's
it's
what
like,
makes it so interesting.
scary.
You can't ever pinpoint one specific thing as the ultimate reason or confirmation, and that's what makes you be able to keep going.
And also, I think I would go insane if I was just like Robert the doll gave me cancer. Like I would
Really?
obviously want to like quit doing haunted in
How
general.
many people take pictures of that doll?
Probably a lot.
Probably
actually.
a lot, but there are 10,000 letters, handwritten letters, saying "I'm sorry" to Robert the doll because of bad instances that happen after people take pictures.
I would love to know how many people take pictures versus how many of them get diagnosed with cancer within a 5-year period, and compare that to the normal statistics
Yeah.
of like, hey, if 100,000 people take a picture with this thing, and the normal statistics might be like 1 in 30 or 1 in 20. I want to see if that skews the results.
That would be actually a great experiment.
That'd be really
I don't know how
interesting.
many
I bet
people would
that-
participate. That's
everybody's like,
someone's
I
gonna
don't
get
wanna
sued
do
on that one.
Yeah. Someone out there do it, not us.
Yeah. So what happened in terms of your cancer diagnosis? Like what was some of the first symptoms you felt?
Well, it was just like I didn't think it was anything serious at first.
Really?
What's really scary is so it's coming up on a year now. I got diagnosed on January 25th in 2023.
Wow.
So like 2 weeks away from
That's
now. We're filming this
crazy.
in mid-January,
Yeah.
2024. But yeah, what's really scary, and not to freak out all the young kings watching this or anything, but like, first of all, it's a young men's cancer. Like people from 20 to like 35 tend to get this. But it really wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that painful. And that's what's scary about it. Every dude has been like nutted before, like where you just kind of feel like you have like a bruised ball for a second, but it goes away in a couple days. My bruise just like didn't go away. The thing that I am telling guys like that gives them peace of mind though is that 2 weeks before I went and got diagnosed, I could tell something was wrong. It started changing in like appearance and size to TMI.
Yeah, sure.
And then like whenever I would like work out really hard or if I'd have sex or masturbate or whatever, it would like swell up and stuff. So I knew something was wrong, obviously.
And you caught it early. So you
That's
felt,
so
you felt
important.
that pain, and you still caught it stage 1.
Yeah,
So
stage 1.
And
I got misdiagnosed too.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
so
was that like?
It was, I mean, I don't blame the doctor at all, but it was a Vegas doctor out here, and he said I had something called like acute epididymitis, which is just like inflammation down there. And then he also, which didn't make any sense because I was celibate at the time, he also was just like, oh, you might have like an STD. Let's give you like a gonorrhea shot just to be safe. And I was like, oh, like that wouldn't make any sense, but all right. So they thought it was that. Gave me the shot in like my ass for like gonorrhea. Obviously it wasn't that. And he was just like, just be safe and go get an ultrasound in the next month. He was just like, you don't have to do it anytime soon. Just go in the next month. But I decided to proactively like do it the next morning and just get it over with. especially because I think we were traveling in the next couple weeks as well. So I was like, let me just get it over with and be safe. Went the next morning, and then 5 hours later, like I missed the call because we were in a meeting, but I was kind of like reading the voicemail transcript where it was like, hey, this is your doctor, call me back as soon as possible. And I was like, that can't be good.
That's not good.
Like, what doctor says that? And so called him back, of course, and he was just like, hey, so don't freak out, but the results from the ultrasound, like it's like 95% cancerous. He was like, it might not be like I forgot the word, benign or something. I think benign. Like it could be like a tumor where it's not cancerous or something.
Yeah.
But you do have a tumor.
But you do have a tumor.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, why don't you just come to the doctor's office right away? And so I didn't even, Sam was still in the meeting. And so I just didn't even like tell Sam. I like left and called him on my way there and told him to like wrap up the meeting. And then he came and drove and met me at the doctor's office. And the doctor was very like nice about it and very reassuring. It was just like, hey man, like usually like 95% of people, they just have to get surgery and they're good. That's it. Like that's all you need. So he was just like, if you get this out as soon as possible, you should be fine.
What they say about the survival rate, isn't testicular cancer like 97%?
Yeah. The
Survival
only like reason people like die from it is if it metastasizes and like goes like everywhere in the body.
Yeah.
So like for example, the most famous case that a lot of people know is Lance Armstrong.
Totally.
Had testicular cancer when he was my age. So I got it when I was 25, like about to be 26. He was 25 as well, I believe. But his spread to his lungs and his brain.
Yikes.
And he had to get like, I don't even know. I'm gonna say this wrong, but he had to get like months of chemo, I believe. Like where for me, based on like the certain type of cancer I had, is basically so they had to take it out in order to do like a pathology report on it and figure out what exactly was going on and what type of like cancer I had. And then they were able to kind of give me a percentage of recurrence of like, okay, for me specifically, it was like 35%. Like you have a 35% chance if you do nothing right now that it's going to come back. And I was like, oh, like that's a third. Like I got 2/3 of a chance. I'm going to be chilling. But then I was like telling all my friends and family that, and they were just like, dude, like 35%,
That's high.
that's like a lot. And so he was just like, but if you do one round of chemo, which was 21 days, then I could get that 35% number down to like 2%. And so initially I was like against it. I didn't want to do chemo. Chemo is like a self-destruct button in your body.
Yeah.
You lose everything. Like it kills all like the fast-growing cells. Like tumors. Tumors are like the fastest growing cells, cancer. And so like you lose your hair, of course, like you lose everything.
Yeah. Could they not have done like radiation or anything like that?
That wasn't an
or-
option for me for some reason.
Okay,
They didn't even bring it up. I'm not sure why.
Okay, that's fair.
I also learned that there's like dozens of chemo drugs for different cancers. So like each person's scenario is going to be different than somebody else's. And so, yeah, after talking to my parents and calling all my friends and just really giving it some thought, I was just like, well, like we were stocked up at videos at the time. I was just like, let me just do this. If I lose all my hair, fuck it. Like it's better than having like cancer coming back or whatever.
Totally.
Like who cares? That'll grow back. And so I just decided to do it. And it was 21 days and like.
What was that like for you to go through?
It was easy while going through it, but like looking back on it, it's like the trauma like came later, like in the year. And I wouldn't say like I'm like really struggling with like trauma or anything, but like definitely knowing that a year ago I had it, it's like I've been thinking of cancer like a lot this year.
Yeah.
And so I think I had some like hidden trauma that
Probably.
Well,
like,
I mean,
Probably
was
tune a
created.
lot of it out. What was it like for you to support a friend through this?
it was definitely a big eye opener for sure. Even from the moment I got that call, it was kind of like everything was put into perspective.
Yeah.
What matters, what doesn't, like what are we actually going to be, focusing on in the future and stuff. It made us definitely reevaluate health and like our friendship. And I think since then we've probably been the closest we've ever been.
Yeah, I know. I think so. I think it like the silver lining of it is all the relationships in my life, like especially ours, like got a lot closer because it's like I was calling my parents every single week, and before then I would call them maybe once every like 3 months, 4 months. Like we have a great relationship, but we just never communicate that often, but like there were so many people in my life that I like reached out to and like for support. I even remember like talking to you a little bit about it like last year, but yeah, it just like brought me closer to everybody, and it's kind of like a slap in the face of like, hey man, like you're not invincible.
Yeah.
But again, like my main things is like, I was just like, when I first found out, I was like, am I gonna die? Can I have kids? Like those were my
Yeah,
my
I
main
was going to
questions.
ask about kids. Do you take a proactive measure like free sperm or something like this, like, just in case?
So before chemotherapy,
Yeah.
they make anybody, I just learned this as well,
Yeah.
but they make anybody who does chemo, they recommend males to freeze their sperm.
I didn't know that.
Because chemo attacks like,
Right.
especially the chemo that I was having was
Right.
attacking like down there. And so there is a tiny, it's like 5%, 10% sort of a thing that like you, like
No,
your
sterile,
sperm just dies.
yeah.
Yeah, you just go sterile. And so I ended up freezing like my sperm out here just to be safe. And yeah, like that was like probably the hardest like decision, is just being like,
It makes it kind of real. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, this is
yeah.
that 5% chance right there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like doctors have to be so honest, of course, with
yeah.
you. And so like hearing like I was doing like the possibility of chemo right after surgery, I was like, there's no way I'm doing chemo. There's no way. But then of course, like once that 35% like stuck with me every single day, I was just like, like I might as well just, everybody in my life was telling me to do it. And I was just like, all right, I should probably just do it.
Also, didn't you get some report back that after chemo it was actually attacking something, so it made you realize that you did make the right decision? Like,
No, so what was scary, and this is getting kind of like into medical terms or whatever, but I'll keep it as like simple as possible because it's confusing. But basically, like there's this tumor marker in your blood called AFP that like spikes up specifically for like specific cancers, like I think it's ovarian and testicular. And so my AFP spiked up like halfway through my chemo. And so what was really hard is my doctors in Vegas who did the chemo, I did the chemo with, said, this spiked up like during your first cycle. We think you should do like another cycle just to be safe. We haven't seen it like spike up like this. And so I was like, wait, but like I just went through this like one cycle. I shouldn't have to like do this again. So I went and got another opinions at UCLA and then Cedars Sinai. I always say that
Cedars
wrong.
Sinai.
Sinai. And they both, and no offense to Vegas doctors out here, but like California's way more qualified, just honest. They both said like, oh no, like you're fine. You don't need chemo. And so, or any more chemo. And so I ended up just taking their advice and being like, all right, 2 doctors said I don't need it. 1 Vegas doctor said like you should do it.
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Yeah.
But then again, like that still is not everybody saying like, oh yeah, you're fine.
I know.
And so that little like door being open of like the possibility of, you know, one doctor was just like, I think you should, cause like so much more anxiety like in the future.
and you still have to deal with that because of all the tests you're taking.
Yeah, like
Like
I mean,
today.
2 days ago, like I did a CT scan, and like I have a blood test tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow. So what's like the maintenance on something like that? How often do you have to go in and retest?
So it was different last year than it is now, obviously. Right after I got diagnosed, I pretty much got poked getting like my blood tests every single week for 5 months at least. But it was only recently, I think, yeah, around like September when they said like, okay, it's like you're still like normal in normal levels. We're gonna like push it out to 3 months. You'll get checked. So the last time I've gotten a CT scan and blood work was in September. And so that's why like early January, like I'm getting it again. It's been 3 months. And so that's why I'm like, I've been kind of like anxious this week and like stressed out because like even though my recurrence level is literally 2%. And so like, obviously I have 98% chance that I'm fine, but it's still weird how I feel like anxious about it.
You know, it's so funny. Even for me, the 1% things screw with my mind all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
It's a 1% chance. That's all I think about.
Exactly.
And I worry about that 1%. Even though it's
Exactly.
unlikely to happen, I spend most of my mental energy on that 1%.
Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that's human nature too, to like just focus on that stuff.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been reading that book, John Deloney's book on anxiety, and he says that 1% is wired in your brain to help keep you alive. Because if you didn't have that 1% worry, think of all the times that 1% happens. You know, over 100, 200 times. That 1% will happen on something.
Yeah.
And if you didn't pay attention to that, it could kill you.
Yeah.
So our minds are wired to focus on that 1% just to keep you alive.
Definitely.
'Cause you
That's a
never
good
know.
point. That's a good point.
So what did this whole experience teach you about life in general? I mean, that's a lot to go through as like a 25, 26-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it made me grateful more than anything for like just everything, like friends and health specifically, of course. And it was again, silver lining to it. I wouldn't call it a blessing in disguise because getting cancer is not a blessing at all. But it really did teach me in other facets of life, like to really focus on like specifically health. So for example, like I slowed down on like drinking a lot, and like I'm going on hikes like every single day and stuff like that. Like it really, and now that I'm doing like these blood tests every once in a while, like I'm checking for other things in my body that I've never even like learned about or knew about, that like kind of gives me more of like a feeling of security of like everything is okay. But yeah, I mean, just overall, like I know this is gonna sound crazy, but, and I've said this before, but I'm not happy that I got cancer, of course, but I'm glad that if it had to happen, it would happen to somebody like me, because like there was so much more positives that happened than negatives. Like, yes, I had to sacrifice my left nut, RIP soldier or whatever, but like, like literally we raised like hundreds of thousands of
I was
dollars
about to say.
to like cancer funds.
I mean, the reach that you have, and just imagine how many, I think 8 million people saw that video.
Yep.
Imagine how many people, because of that, got something checked
checked or
out.
something.
Because they saw you do that and said, oh, you know
Exactly.
what, maybe, you know, it wasn't anything. Let me just check this out just in case. I mean,
Right.
when you look at a numbers game like that, out of 8
Could've
million
saved
people,
lives.
Yeah.
out of
no,
8
for
million
sure.
people, at least one of them probably did something proactive that would have prevented something or caught something early enough because
Exactly.
you came so publicly with that video.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. But
Yeah.
it's been super cool seeing like random emails from like I want to be like a spokesperson to guys, because I feel like a lot of dudes will be very insecure or scared to talk about a cancer like down there or whatever. But I want to be like a social media guy who is not afraid to be like, yeah, no, that happened to me and like I'm thriving still.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing for guys like out there, to if you're going through the same situation, is nothing's changed. It's like no libido
cool.
changes, like no testosterone
Yeah, I
changes.
heard you on Joe Rogan say that the other testicle compensates and makes up, which I think is
Yes.
insane. That the body could do that. So you've
Right.
noticed like no difference in terms of like.
Zero difference.
And
so
I'm curious, do they just replace it with like a fake one?
I had the option to do that. So they said I could get like a silicone ball.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't do it is because I was doing a bunch of research where like sometimes the body will reject silicone any time in life. So I didn't want to have like the anxiety of like being like 40, 50, whatever, one day and like being like, is this the year that like my body decides to reject my fake nut? Like, I don't think so. So I just, I'm rocking one
Don't
ball
they?
right now.
Isn't that the case with
Just
people
rocking
get
the
boob
one
jobs where you have to either like take a medication or something to? I don't know if that's for life. I'm not. I don't know.
It's gotta be
But I thought there's something where it's like
Something
it's
like
not meant
that.
to be a permanent thing. You're usually supposed to replace them every like 15 years.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you have to replace it every, I don't know, 7 to 10 years. I'm not sure, but it's anything, any foreign object in the human body.
Yeah,
You
Like,
just
right.
want to take that risk after going through all.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
because
blame
like
you.
the whole thing is like, I just want my anxiety to go away about it. And so like, I wouldn't want to give myself more anxiety by just like getting like a fake ball in there. And being
Yeah.
like, all right, well now is like my body going to reject it? Like shit.
Yeah. Now, what happened to the nut that they took out? Did you get to keep that?
So
It was like
they give it to you in like a Christmas ornament and like
And so it's on our tree right now.
You're joking.
literally
I would
right
love
now.
that.
You're joking.
No, and like they put a plaque that says Colby Brock's left nut.
Are you serious? Well, I feel like you're kidding. Yeah, I see that smile on your face.
No, they have to.
They just toss
Yeah.
it.
They just.
I don't know what they
incinerate
do
it or
with
something.
it.
Can you ask for it? Like, I feel like I've seen people with like who get
okay,
teeth
I was
removed to
out-
be like, I want the
I was
teeth.
outside the operating room, and the doctor came up and was like,
Do you want it?
"Do you want to see a nut?" And I was like,
It's a weird question.
Did you say yes?
I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I probably shouldn't." And I was like,
Can't lead you on like that. No.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's like,
did
of
not know
course I
this.
want to see Colby's balls. I mean, his extracted nut.
Oh my god.
So he never showed it. He just he backpedaled
never-
on
Yeah,
that.
he
backpedaled.
He
I
expected
I love how
you
you
to say
jumped
no.
on it and you're like, yeah.
I was like,
let's
I
see
mean,
it.
this is a once in a
Let's
lifetime
Yeah.
chance, you know. He said he used to be able to do it, but not anymore.
Okay.